Good evening. For all those officers in the back, we have plenty of space up here in the first couple rows. I don't want the fire marshal to sit all by himself, so please take an opportunity to come on up here and have a seat. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 2019 Novi Police and Fire Department Awards Ceremony. I'm David Malloy, and I have the honor of serving you all as the Director of Public Safety and Chief of Police for the City of Novi. I'd like to thank Officer Eric Carlamusto for playing the bagpipes as we started our ceremony this evening. At this time, I'd like to welcome Imam Hafiz from the Tawheed Center of Novi to perform our invocation.
Peace to everyone, and as we say, Assalamu alaikum. First, I want to thank everyone for having me. I would like to thank you for this special invitation, for having me on this auspicious occasion. And on behalf of TCNA, the chairman and the board, and my colleagues, and the community at large, I want to claim this time to give my salutation and appreciation and gratitude to the police and fire department of our great city of Novi. Thank you. And all those who serve in law enforcement community and this nation as a whole. Furthermore, on behalf of the citizens of our city, I especially want to say thank you to the chief and the officers of Novi. I would like to acknowledge and show much appreciation on this ceremony evening to all of our local law enforcement leadership for their everyday bravery and concerted effort. We at TCNA acknowledge the importance in building relationships and ties between law enforcement and the community that they serve and are part of, which is a fundamental principle, as it is something that we can all partake in. To obviate violence and enforce the law on those who defy and violate the natural and common laws that govern our society. And I would like to congratulate all those who will be receiving the awards tonight as well. I will start by stating a verse from the glorious Quran by our Creator, who states that, O mankind, certainly I've created you from male and female, and I've made you into tribes and nations that you may get to know each other. And certainly to God, those who are honorable and conscious to Him are more dear to Him. I also would like to start with the opening prayer, which is also the opening prayer in the Quran. I would say it in Arabic, and then I would translate it. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in, Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim, صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. And the translation goes as follows. The praise belong to the Lord, Lord of the worlds, the beneficent, the merciful, the King, the Master of the day of all accountability. To the Creator alone do we worship. To the Creator alone do we seek for assistance and absolute assistance and help. We ask the Creator to guide us to the straight path, the path of those who He has showered His bounty upon, not the path of those who have earned His anger. And we ask God Almighty to protect us. We ask Him to protect our families. And we ask Him to protect this great city of Novi. Thank you. Amen.
Thank you, Imam Hafiz. If we could all please stand and begin our presentation with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. One of the greatest honors I have is I'm allowed to serve alongside all of the men and women present here tonight and those who we are about to honor. It's truly one of the highest distinctions one could imagine. Tonight we join together to recognize several outstanding individuals, police officers, firefighters, dispatchers, support staff, and citizens from our community who've performed valiantly, courageously, and professionally in service to our Novi community. Firefighters and police officers take risks and suffer great inconvenience to protect lives, defend civil liberties, secure the safety of our fellow citizens, and they endure such risks and tolerate such inconveniences on behalf of complete strangers, and not one of them do it without hesitation. They send themselves into harm's way for the sacrifice of others. Our dispatchers and our support staff work long hours and are responsible for the behind-the-scenes work so many take for granted. They are the unsung heroes many of you will never meet, but our work is not possible without them. These men and women are protectors who run towards danger when everyone else is running away. Tonight we'll honor their bravery and commend them for their service. I'd like to take a moment to introduce and recognize some of our special guests with us here this evening. If you could please hold your applause until the end. Very proud to have our mayor, Bob Gatt, is with us this evening. Mayor Pro Tem David Stout, Councilmember Kelly Breen, Councilmember Ramesh Verma, Assistant City Manager Victor Cardenas, Director of Communications Cheryl Walsh-Malloy, Deputy Director of Parks and Recreation and Cultural Services Tracy Ringel, and Director of Human Resources Tia Grunland-Fox. Thank you all for coming out and supporting our team. You are all very fortunate, and I'm very honored to serve in a community which has two very professional public safety departments working together seamlessly to deliver emergency services to all residents and business leaders. We come together as one with common values of honesty, integrity, professionalism, honor, service, and duty. These are not just words, but they're the core values all members of the Novi Police and Fire Departments possess and emulate. We would ask award winners to please follow along in the program and line up in the queue in the order that you are listed. Our police and fire command staff are assisting with the organization of the awards and the dissemination to keep our ceremony moving this evening. As we call your name, if you could please join us on the stage by entering from my left to your right, and then we'll have you exit stage right. At the conclusion of tonight's ceremony, we'll have an opportunity to take as many photographs as you want here on stage. Our video production team is live streaming this event via Facebook Live, cityofnovi.org, AT&T Uverse, and Charter Spectrum. In addition, we're sharing information on these awards on Twitter at hashtag NoviAwards19. At this point in time, if I could please ask all members of the Novi Fire Department stand, raise your right hand, and repeat your oath of honor. On my honor, I will never betray my badge, my integrity, my character, or the public trust. I will always have the courage to hold myself and others accountable for our actions. I will always maintain a proficiency in the art and science of fire engineering and emergency medical services. I promise to faithfully and professionally honor my agency and the community I serve. Thank you. Now, if I could have all Novi Police personnel stand, raise your right hand, and repeat your oath of honor. On my honor, I will never betray my badge, my integrity, my character, or the public trust. I will always have the courage to hold myself and others accountable for our actions. I will always uphold the Constitution, my community, and the agency I serve. Thank you. At this point, we will begin our awards presentations with Director of EMS and Fire Operations, Mr. Jeff Johnson.
Lieutenant Maria Reisner, Detective John Zabik, Officer Dan Jenkinson, Officer Samantha Krakow, Officer Sean Penzak, Officer Michael Walton, Firefighter Nicholas Lucius, Captain Todd Saug, Firefighter Douglas Mobes, Firefighter Michael Shank, Officer Stacy Simon, Officer Kevin Nunner, Officer Joshua Johnson, Officer Eric Toby, Officer Ryan Haney, Officer Kyle Smith. In July of 2015, every member of the police and Novi Police and Fire Departments were trained on the use of naloxone, nasal naloxone, a life-saving antidote that reverses the effects of opiate and heroin overdose. When administered properly, an overdose victim will become responsive within minutes, and in many cases will walk to the ambulance under their own power. Since Novi first responders began carrying naloxone in 2015, 67 lives have been saved. In 2018, we responded to 16 opiate heroin overdoses. That is down from 2017, when we had 27. In each case, the victims were found unresponsive with agonal breathing. Each of these first responders standing on this stage effectively administered nasal naloxone to the victims, which saved their lives. Together, these first responders saved 16 lives from overdose in 2018. I'm proud to honor each of them with a life-saving award. Captain Mark Tyson, Firefighter Nathan Ryan, Mr. Ian Grant, Miss Michelle Tarson, Miss Missy Crodeau, and Miss Gabrielle Gruder. Umpires preside over a game so that players can have fun and the crowd can enjoy an event filled with cheers and loved ones and friends. On the night of July 13th, 2018, at 11 p.m., when everything appeared to be seemingly normal, an umpire at LMA Power Park was going to need help and need it fast. The umpire collapsed on the field and had no pulse. 3 nurses at the game, Michelle Taryn, Missy Crodeau, and Michelle Gruder, sprung into action, grabbing the automatic external defibrillator, AED, to assist with the victim. Each took turns trading off doing chest compressions, and they shocked the umpire with the AED before responders arrived. Captain Mark Tyson and firefighter Nathan Ryan arrived and took over CPR. Superior Air Ground Ambulance personnel Ian Grant and his partner arrived immediately and established life-saving measures. These first responders and medical professionals work collaboratively in one seamless unit, and the umpire regained a pulse before he was transported to Ascension Providence Hospital Novi campus for further treatment. Medical professionals verified that if not for the quick actions of these bystanders and first responders, this gentleman would likely not have survived. It was later confirmed by medical professionals that the umpire walked out of the hospital and returned later for cardiac procedure. Please join me in recognizing Captain Mark Tyson, firefighter Nathan Ryan with the Life Saving Award, and also it is my honor to recognize Ian Grant, Michelle Tarson, Misty Cadeau, and Gabrielle Gruder with a civilian citation. Fire Protection Officer Andrew Copelan. Fire Protection Officer Andrew Copelan began his career with the fire service with the Novi Fire Department as a paid-on-call in January 14th of 1994. Later, he was promoted to Fire Protection Officer in 2001. Through his education in fire codes and enforcement, Andy understands the importance of life safety. His passion has afforded him to be one of only 8 instructors in the state of Michigan to teach the National Fire Protection Association, NFPA, Fire Inspector 1, 2, and Plans Examiner program. Educating fire inspectors to ensure the safety of the public is a commendable attribute for anyone to have. Fire codes are just like many things today, they're always evolving. Ensuring our department inspectors are highly trained with the most up-to-date information is of paramount importance. Fire Protection Officer Copeland conducts periodic, ongoing, continuing education training. Always willing to help, this past December, Andy was approached by the Michigan local area ordnance officers to be a keynote speaker at their training symposium. This annual conference of ordnance officers from around the state brings them together to discuss all things ordinances and codes. This recognition is indicative of how Andy is valued by the area of fire prevention. Our very own code compliance officers from Novi stated, "We as a department are honored to have Andy as a colleague and an incredible resource of knowledge." The feedback from MACEO members have been extremely positive. They've requested Fire Protection Officer Copeland presence again in the future for a greater length. In 2018, Fire Protection Officer Copeland has filled in for the Fire Marshal on numerous occasions, and while filling in, he conducts commercial planning reviews, inspections, and fire investigations. Fire Protection Officer Copeland's goal is to ensure the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens, business owners, the guests of the city of Novi. Because of this, I would like to recognize Fire Protection Andy Copeland for Fire Prevention Service Award. The next presenter will be Assistant Chief Scott Batens.
Good evening, everyone. Sergeant Jason Meyer, Sergeant Rachel Meyer, Officer Tim Hartland, Officer Sean Penzak, Officer Dan Jenkinson, Officer Joshua Russell. Shots fired. 2 words police officers never want to hear. However, on the night of September 23rd, 2018, that is exactly what these officers faced. An altercation inside the 29 Park nightclub carried out into the parking lot. 2 suspects, both licensed to carry handguns, brought their guns from home. When 2 groups of people started fighting in the parking lot, one man from the suspect's group was pinned down on the ground while others tried to pull a gun from the man's waistband. One suspect pulled his gun from his car and dangerously fired 4 times into the air to stop the fight. When police arrived, over 30 people were still yelling at each other, and some were leaving the area. Officer Jenkinson found one victim with injuries to his face from a punch. While Officer Jenkinson was getting medical treatment for that victim, the other officers quickly calmed the remaining subjects still at the scene. After determining there were no injuries, officers were approached by 2 intoxicated suspects, each reporting they had a gun in their car. Both suspects initially stated they did not fire their weapons. Officer Hartland started searching the immediate area around the suspect's vehicle, where he found 4 spent shell casings. Sergeant Jason Meyer counted the number of rounds in one gun and found 4 missing. When questioned a second time, one suspect admitted to firing 4 rounds into the air to scare an angry group away from his friend. This was a chaotic scene with people yelling, fighting, and intoxicated individuals displaying and shooting guns into the air. To this day, we have no idea where the random bullets came down. Fortunately, the Novi Police Department never received any reports of someone being hit by one of the bullets. The 2 suspects were arrested, one for a violation of their CPL and reckless discharge of a firearm, and the other for a violation of their CPL. Although the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office declined to pursue criminal charges in this matter, this case is an excellent example of teamwork under stress and dangerous conditions. On that night in September, 2 guns from intoxicated individuals were taken off the streets of our community. Please join me in recognizing Sergeant Jason Meyer, Sergeant Rachel Meyer, and Officer Hartland with a merit citation, and Officers Sean Penzak, Dan Jenkinson, and Joshua Russell with a unit citation. Detective Michael Bender. On January 8th, 2018, at approximately 7 p.m., officers responded to the 2900 block of Carousel Street for what they thought was a family trouble. When they arrived, they learned an autistic 15-year-old boy was using Craigslist to solicit a 54-year-old man for sexual favors. The parents learned of this when they returned home from that night and chased the 54-year-old man out of their residence. Officers responded and processed the scene, collecting valuable evidence. Officers and Detective Bender located the suspect at an address in Fenton, Michigan. The man provided a partial confession and was immediately arrested and brought back to the Novi Police Department. Detective Bender is recognized as a regional expert in investigating sex crimes, and in particular, those with special needs. He is highly qualified and trained in forensic interviewing, and Detective Bender met with the suspect for a detailed interview about this crime. Detective Bender was able to obtain a full confession from the suspect with explicit details of the relationship between the victim and the offender. Because of this interview, Detective Bender was able to obtain a 4-count warrant for criminal sexual conduct. The suspect pled guilty to 4 counts of criminal sexual conduct and was sentenced to 5 to 15 years in state prison. Please join me in recognizing Detective Bender with a merit citation. Detective Mike Wilson, Detective Jeff Brown, Detective Mike Marchetti, Officer Paul Leslie, Officer Eric Tapia, Officer Matt Halasic. In police work, nothing is ever as it seems. This could not have been more evident on the evening of January 4th, 2018. Officers were dispatched to the 29,000 block of Pierre Drive after the caller requested the Novi Police Department do a welfare check on her son. The caller went to check on her son, Derek Dixon, and she could see him lying on the couch, but he was not responding as she knocked and called out his name. She was concerned because her son had tried to kill himself in the past. Officers forced entry into the home to provide assistance to the unresponsive victim. They determined Derek was still alive, but was an apparent victim of a drug overdose. Officers Tapia and Leslie started to check the home for anyone else and found Derek's wife, 31-year-old Heather Dixon, in the bedroom, lying on the floor. She had a scarf wrapped around her neck and appeared to be the victim of a homicide. Responding officers secured the scene and called investigators. Officer Tapia stayed with Derek as he was transported to a nearby hospital. Officer Leslie spoke to Derek's mom, gathering vital information about the family's dynamics in the home as well as establishing a timeline. Officer Halasic gathered required information needed for the detectives to continue their investigation. Detective Wilson, Detective Mintz, Detective Brown, and Detective Marchetti all responded. They worked together to build a case through a comprehensive investigation as to why Derek may have killed his wife. Detective Marchetti interviewed Derek in the hospital, and Derek provided a full confession. Derek Dixon pled no contest to murder, first degree premeditated, in the fall of 2018. He is currently serving 35 to 80 years in state prison. The case represents another outstanding example of teamwork throughout the Novi Police Department. Everyone works seamlessly as one unit, successfully bringing a killer to justice. Because of their efforts, they are awarded a unit citation. Congratulations. Sergeant Amanda Kulikowski, Detective Paige McCary, Detective Jerry Stempian, Officer Eric Tapia, Officer Samantha Gracco, Detective Brian Martin, Special Agent Sean Callahan. Identity theft is the fastest growing crime across the globe. Over 16 million people have been affected by identity theft at a cost of over $16 billion per year. It can take months, if not years, for victims to recover. In our effort to combat this epidemic, the Novi Police Department houses the Southeast Michigan Financial Crimes Task Force. On December 3rd, 2018, officers were dispatched to the parking lot of Walmart. They were told by dispatch there was a woman sitting in a green Malibu putting on a wig. Sergeant Amanda Kulikowski was the first to arrive and started looking for the car, where she found it in the Chase Bank drive-thru. When Sergeant Kulikowski ran the license plate, she learned the plate was registered to a deceased person and the plate properly belonged on a GMC Savannah van. Sergeant Kulikowski then watched as the driver finished her banking transaction. When Sergeant Kulikowski tried to stop the van pulled away. Eventually, the van came to an abrupt stop in front of the Bonefish Grill off of 11 Mile. Suddenly, a male passenger emerged from the back seat, exited the vehicle, and started running through the parking lot. Sergeant Kulikowski and Detective Paige McCary, then Officer McCary, pursued the passenger while Officer Eric Tapia stayed with the driver. After a brief foot pursuit, the passenger stopped running and both individuals were taken into custody. Through an exhaustive investigation, officers learned the driver just cashed a fraudulent check at Chase Bank. Officers found numerous different identifications, rubber bands, baggies, and a small amount of heroin in the car. Officers also learned that the check was drawn from a Toledo State Bank in Ohio. The victim reported her purse, her checkbook, her debit card, and identification stolen out of Ohio in the previous days. Novi Police Detective Jeremy Stempian is currently assigned to that Southeast Michigan Financial Crimes Task Force and was called to the scene to assist. Detective Stempian quickly determined the behavior of the suspects in custody were consistent with that of the Felony Lane Gang, an interstate criminal organization responsible for millions of dollars in theft, fraud, and robbery. Detective Stempian requested assistance from Special Agent Sean Callahan of the FBI and Detective Brian Martin from the Auburn Hills Police Department. After extensive interviews, detectives became aware of 7 different receiving and concealing crimes across Michigan and Ohio. The suspects were charged with assaulting, resisting, obstructing police, and forgery. Both suspects pled guilty and are awaiting sentencing. This case is another example of excellent multi-jurisdictional teamwork and the Novi Police Department's commitment to relentless follow-up. Please join in recognizing Sergeant Amanda Kulikowski and Detective Jerry Stempian with a merit citation, as well as Officer Eric Tapia, Officer Samantha Gracco, Detective Paige McCary, Special Agent Sean Callahan, and Detective Brian Martin with a unit citation. Congratulations. Officer Joshua Russell, Detective Mike Marchetti, Officer Brandon Bittis, Officer Alex Marchione, Officer Matt Halasic, Officer Kevin Nutter, Officer Kyle Smith, Officer Ryan Haney, Officer Eric Toby, Officer Andrew Toth, Officer Sean Penzak. It doesn't happen very often, but on the night of November 4th, 2018, officers were dispatched to the parking lot behind Mongolian Barbecue for a man who was shot. The scene was chaotic, with several vehicles in the lot and roadways, with dozens of people standing around yelling and screaming. Officers Mullock and Toby quickly identified the victim and started treating the gunshot wound to his shoulder. Officers quickly assembled and managed 3 different scenes: the parking lot, the nightclub where the incident started, and the hospital. These officers work effectively in a coordinated effort to calm and disperse the crowd, identify witnesses, and collect evidence. Although the suspect was not identified, it was not for a lack of investigative effort. This team of officers and detectives entered a dangerous shooting scene, quickly calmed a frantic crowd, and ensured the safety of everyone in the area, and processed 3 scenes. They interviewed over 20 witnesses, obtained video footage, and collected valuable evidence. Unfortunately, not every crime ends with the suspect in jail. This shooting is an excellent example of communication and teamwork, one unit working efficiently together, restoring peace and calm to our community. Please join me in recognizing this group of officers and detectives with a unit citation. Congratulations. Detective Michael Bender. On October 30th, 2018, Detective Bender received an anonymous tip from the Oakland County Sheriff's Department about a possible child pornography case. After an exhaustive several-month investigation and through many interviews, he learned that this crime spree began back in 2010, spanning across 3 Michigan communities. This crime involved a 42-year-old suspect and a 13-year-old victim. Because so many communities were involved, Detective Bender conducted this investigation with the FBI and the United States Attorney's Office. 2 weeks following Detective Bender's involvement with the federal agencies, the suspect was arrested by the Novi Police Department along with the FBI. He was charged with producing child pornography, possession of child pornography, coercion and enticement, and threatening communications. He is currently awaiting federal prosecution. The FBI and U.S. Attorney's Office both commented on Detective Bender's case, saying no additional follow-up was needed. As a result of Detective Bender's investigation, another child predator has been taken off the streets. Detective Bender's work is another example of the Novi Police Department's commitment to excellence and relentless follow-up and assessment of all criminal activities. I'm honored to recognize Detective Bender with a merit citation. Officer Jason Bergtold, Officer Eric Carlamusto, Miss Rachel Hauk, Miss Jenna Gibord. On November 28th, 2018, at 9:46 p.m., a woman decided she wanted to end her life. What she was about to do was put other lives in danger, including 2 citizens. This young lady decided she was going to jump off of Meadowbrook Road down onto Interstate 96. What she didn't count on were citizens Rachel Hauk and Jenna Gabord leaving Walsh College and passing through the area. They noticed a young lady hanging over the outside of the safety barrier where they stopped their vehicles, grabbed the woman's arms, and waited for first responders. Officer Carlamusto was the first to arrive and grabbed the female to prevent her from jumping. Still unable to pull the woman back up onto the roadway, he held on until Officer Bergtold arrived. These officers were able to pull the woman back over the railing to safety. The female was transported to a medical facility for evaluation, and it was later learned that she lost numerous family members while she was attending National Guard basic training and dealing with another family member with a terminal illness. She herself was searching for a purpose in life. Thankfully, these 2 citizens chose to assist another citizen in need. Please join me in recognizing Officers Eric Carlamusto and Jason Bergtold with a life-saving award, and Rachel Hauk and Gina Gabord with the Novi Police Department Civilian Citation. Congratulations. Thank you. The next presenter will be Novi Fire Captain Mark Tyson.
Firefighter Dennis Barrett, Firefighter Gregory Liss, Auxiliary Firefighter Amir Farani, and Paramedic Jeremy Beatty. On the late afternoon of September 8th, 2018, the Novi Fire Department responded to a report of a male patient that was unconscious and possibly not breathing. Engine 2 arrived to find a 24-year-old male laying in bed on the second-floor bedroom. Paid-on-call firefighters Barrett, Liss, and Ferrani immediately jumped into action. Engine 2 crew quickly assessed the patient and identified that he was not breathing, he did not have a pulse, and he was in cardiac arrest. The patient was moved to the floor and CPR was initiated. Auxiliary firefighter Ferrani started chest compressions while firefighter Liss began to ventilate the patient. The AED was connected to the patient, and one full cycle of high-quality CPR, and AED advised the Engine 2 crew to deliver a shock to the patient's heart. The button was pressed and the shock was delivered. Superior Ambulance paramedics Jeremy Beatty and his partner arrived and advised of the patient's status. Firefighter Barrett attempted to insert a combi tube into the patient's airway, but was met with resistance. This patient now had an intact gag reflex, indicating that the heart has restarted. Auxiliary firefighter Ferrani checked for a carotid pulse and discovered one was very strong. Superior Ambulance paramedic Beatty completed a rapid assessment of the patient's status. It was determined that the patient needed immediate transport to the hospital. Engine 2 crew carried the patient down a narrow staircase and awaited the stretcher. The patient was quickly packaged, reassessed, and loaded into the ambulance. It was determined that in order to deliver the highest care possible, the patient, both superior paramedics, would need to attend to the patient in the back, and one of the Novi firefighters would drive the ambulance. The patient was transported to Ascension Providence Hospital, Novi campus, where he regained breathing on his own. Each of these team members played an integral role of the patient's survival. Further action, we will reward firefighters Dennis Barrett, Gregory Liss, and auxiliary firefighter Amir Ferrani with life-saving award, and Superior Ambulance paramedics Jeremy Beatty with a civilian citation. Congratulations. Lieutenant Paul Mullett, firefighter Ian Patterson, firefighter Jack Lau, firefighter Michael Moisen, Officer Michael Walton, Officer Deanna Stevenson, paramedic Josh Graham, EMT Thomas Brown, Carol Arila, Dr. Eric Covan, Dr. Scott Laker, and Oakland County Sheriff Court Deputy Mark Ross. On the evening of May 3rd, 2018, approximately 6:55, things at the Novi High School seemed as normal as they could be. Lots of parents and bystanders attended a basketball game cheering on their favorite team. A referee of this particular game seemed out of sorts that evening. A quick timeout was called as the referee was experiencing chest pains. During the timeout, he took prescribed nitroglycerin pills to alleviate the pain. Hoping the chest pain would now subside during this time, the game was then resumed. While everyone's attention was on the players, the referee suddenly clutched his chest and collapsed on the gymnasium floor. Numerous bystanders called 911 and realized not really what was actually going on. Recognizing that the referee was in immediate need of help, 4 bystanders sitting in the bleachers jumped into action. Carol Arila, a parent who was there to watch her child, knew the closest automatic external defibrillator was located nearby. All while Doctors Eric Covan, Scott Laker, along with Oakland County Sheriff Court Deputy Mark Ross, ran to the referee's side. A rapid assessment of the patient determined that the referee was in fact in cardiac arrest. Immediately, CPR was initiated. Doctors Covan and Laker, along with Deputy Ross, took turns in the process of chest compressions. Carol brought the AED to the patient's side where they attached the pad to the patient's chest. The AED was analyzed and the patient's heart, it was determined that a shock was necessary. The button was pressed and one shock was then delivered. Chest compressions continued until the AED advised the rescuer that another shock was necessary. The second shock was delivered. Officers Michael Walton and Deanna Stevensons were the first public safety members to arrive at the high school. Both officers entered the gym and witnessed Dr. Covan, Dr. Laker, Deputy Ross performing CPR on the referee. Officer Walton and Stevenson jumped right in the rotation and provided compressions and to monitor the AED. There was a pocket mask with Officer Walton's AED, so Deputy Ross began rescue breathing for the patient. Lieutenant Paul Mullett arrived on scene and began to reassess the patient. Lieutenant Mullett inserted a nasopharyngeal airway and bag valve mask and was used for airway management with high-flow oxygen. Paramedic Josh Graham from Superior Ambulance arrived with his cardiac monitor and medications as he got his partner, Tom Brown, EMT, brought the remaining stretchers and equipment to him. Engine 1's crew arrived with firefighters Ian Patterson and Jack Lau to continue life-saving efforts. Firefighter Mike Moisen also assisted with shuttling necessary equipment to the crews inside the gymnasium. 3 additional shocks were delivered. Superior paramedic Josh Graham set up an IV and began to administer the necessary cardiac medications. 3 more sequences of medications were delivered to the patient. Additionally, 1 more shock was delivered, after which the patient had a viable pulse. The crews quickly moved the patient to the waiting ambulance. The patient was transported priority 1 to Ascension Providence Novi, with firefighters driving and assisting with patient care. While en route to the patient regained consciousness and in the back of the ambulance. In the emergency room, the patient began to speak. All the high-quality care given to this patient paid off. For all their quick actions and dedications to the preservation of life, we award Lieutenant Paul Mullet, firefighters Ian Patterson, Jack Lau, Mike Moisen, officers Michael Walton and Deanna Stevenson with a life-saving award, Superior Ambulance Paramedic Josh Graham, EMT Tom Brown, Carol Arila, Doctors Eric Covan, Scott Laker, and the Oakland County Sheriff Court Deputy Mark Ross with a Civilian Citation Award. Congratulations. Susan Lanzik, Colleen Wilson, and Jeff Douglas. On Monday, February 26, 2018, approximately 5:49, the Novi Fire Department was dispatched to Lifetime Fitness for a 65-year-old male who was unconscious, not breathing, and turning blue. While working at Lifetime Fitness, the male patron suddenly collapsed in a cardiac arrest in front of workers and bystanders. Lifetime Fitness staff immediately called over the radios that they had a code 100, which is a code for an emergency. Account manager Susan Ladzik, trained in CPR, assessed the patient and realized that he was not breathing and could not find a pulse. She immediately jumped right in and initiated chest compressions. Jeff Douglas, one of the personal trainers, grabbed an AED and brought it to Susan's location. Immediately, Jeff began to place the pads on the patient's chest and allowed the AED to analyze the heart. Colleen Wilson, the aquatics manager, arrived to assist with chest compressions. Between the 3, they took turns alternating compressions. After 1 full cycle of chest compressions, the AED advised that a shock was necessary. Chest compressions stopped and Jeff delivered the life-saving shock. Chest compressions resumed. To their amazement, the patient began to breathe on his own. Eventually, the patient would begin speaking to the staff. Although a bit confused, he was alive. Fire department's unit responded and updated that the patient was now conscious and breathing on his own. Upon Rescue 3's arrival, the patient was talking with Susan, Jeff, and Colleen. Although a collective effort by all the Lifetime Fitness staff, these 3 individuals jumped into action, directly saving the life of one of their patrons. For your quick response, determination to help save a life, Susan, Jeff, and Colleen, you are awarded with a Civilian Citation. The next presentation will be Assistant Chief Zinzer.
Good evening. Officer Steve Snell, Officer Brandon Bittis. In 2017, Oakland, Wayne, Macomb, and Livingston counties all saw a spike in home invasions of the Asian business owners. Law enforcement partners from across the region were working together, sharing intelligence in an effort to put an end to these crimes. In all, there were 44 separate home invasions. With the extensive investigating, 2 patrol officers and their attention to detail paved the way to bring comfort to the Asian community and closure to the victims. The victim was home on the night of January 18, 2018, when his wife called saying a white Cadillac was driving back and forth in front of their business. And the same white Cadillac had been parked near the victim's business for 3 days. The victim left his home and responded to the business. That's when they called the Novi Police Department, and Officer Brandon Bittis responded. The victim told Officer Bittis a black Cadillac had followed him from his home, but left the area when he arrived at his business. The victim got the license plate number of the white Cadillac before it left the area. The victim also told Officer Bittis he remembered seeing footprints in the snow around his house. Officer Bittis, assisted by other officers, including Officer Snell, went back to the victim's Novi home. The home had been broken into. Missing was a computer, surveillance equipment, and $2,500 in cash. Officer Bittis processed the scene while Officer Snell ran the license plate from the white Cadillac. Their investigative work led to the development of 3 suspects. 3 weeks later, these suspects were arrested. All 3 suspects pled guilty to 5 counts of home invasion and are currently serving 3 to 15 years in state prison. For their efforts, Officer Bittis and Officer Snell are recognized with letters of commendation. Congratulations. Officer Matt Halashik. Sometimes a simple traffic stop and attention to detail is all it takes. In 2012, the Novi Police Department started a new initiative called DDAX, or Data-Driven Approach to Crime and Traffic Safety, essentially identifying hot zones for traffic crashes and crimes and patrolling the area. Officer Halashik was assigned to a hot zone on the night of September 19, 2018, when he stopped a suspicious vehicle in the area of Best Buy at 1:27 a.m. The vehicle had Ohio license plates. Officer Halashik obtained a valid identification from the driver. An hour after the traffic stop, Officer Halashik was dispatched to Best Buy for an alarm at 2:30 a.m. At that time, nothing out of the ordinary was found. Later that morning at 7:15 a.m., the Novi Police Department was sent to Best Buy for a break-in and entering. It was discovered suspects had cut a hole in the roof, stealing $34,000 of electronics. Through the investigation, it was learned the Best Buy store in Ohio also fell victim to a similar crime. It was learned there were 2 suspects. One suspect was developed by Best Buy Loss Prevention from the Ohio incident. Using the information provided, the South Oakland Narcotics and Intelligence Consortium, or SONIC, conducted surveillance operation on the 2 suspects. During the surveillance operation, SONIC detectives observed the two suspects commit another break-in and entering at the Best Buy store in Pittsfield Township. The surveillance unit worked with the Pittsfield Township Police Department and arrested the 2 suspects. If not for Officer Halashik's traffic stop, the second suspect would not have been identified, and the 2 suspects may not have been linked together in the Novi incident. Both suspects were charged with breaking and entering. The case is still pending adjudication. For his efforts, Officer Halashik is awarded a letter of commendation. Officer Jason Bergtold. Each year, we recognize the officer who made more drunk driving arrests than any other officer in the department. Officer Jason Bergtold emerged in 2018 as the leader in our efforts to reduce drunk driving in Novi by making 824 traffic stops, 173 arrests, and 24 drunk driving arrests. Officer Bergtold is a 4-time recipient of the Mother Against Drunk Driving Award. He is Novi's first officer trained as a drug recognition expert, or DRE. He joins 130 DREs statewide and over 15 DREs in Oakland County. Officer Bergtold's accolades have not stopped in Novi. He was recognized as Rookie of the Year in 2014 by the Michigan chapter of Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Please join me in recognizing Officer Bergtold with the MAD Award. Sergeant Bob Menard, Officer Sean Penzak, Officer Dan Jenkinson, Officer John Corder, Officer Eric Carlamusto, Officer Stacy Simon, Officer Samantha Grakow. What may appear impossible can lead to a successful resolution by going above and beyond with a little teamwork. Sergeant Menard's team proved just that on the night of January 25, 2018, when they were dispatched to a suspicious vehicle near the restrooms at the clubhouse on Shoreline Drive in the Lakeshore subdivision. While investigating the vehicle, Officer Simon and Officer Sean Penzak observed 3 male suspects running out of the bathroom. They were ordered to stop, but they kept running. A 4th suspect emerged from the bathroom, and he was detained. Officers checked the bathroom and discovered that there was damage to the door frame, extensive drywall damage, and it was apparent that the suspects were smoking marijuana in the bathroom. Additional officers arrived to help locate the 3 suspects. Officer Sean Penzak and his canine partner, Roke, started a track while the other officers set up a perimeter to flush out the suspects. After an extensive track through the neighborhood, officers located two of the three suspects. Upon interviewing them, they gave up the name of the fourth suspect who came to the police station with his parents. These four suspects caused over $3,000 in damage. Two of the suspects were charged with malicious destruction of property, possession of marijuana, and obstructing police. Combined, they served 95 days in the Oakland County Jail for their actions. This case represents another example of the Novi Police Department's commitment to serving their community with a rapid response and relentless follow-up to solve a crime. Rather than simply taking a report, these officers solved a crime that would have most likely gone unsolved. Please join me in recognizing each of them with a unit citation. Sergeant Jason Meyer, Officer Dan Jenkinson, Officer Jason Bergtold, Officer Tim Hartland, Officer Alex Marchione, Officer Matt Halashik. On the night of June 1st, 2018, the Novi Police Department was dispatched to an address on Country Lane to assist the East Point Police Department. An East Point resident loaded his shotgun and attempted to run over his wife. The suspect believed his wife was having an extramarital affair with the Novi resident. The suspect told police he was going to Novi to kill the Novi resident. We were told there was probable cause to arrest the suspect on the East Point charges and he should be considered armed and dangerous. While officers were at the Novi home, the suspect called the residence. The suspect stated he was around the corner and, quote, "I hope the girl was worth dying for." Officers quickly evacuated the home, taking the Novi man and his family to the Novi Police Headquarters for safety. A short time after arriving at police headquarters, the suspect called again. This time he said he was sitting outside the home, described the home, and reiterated he hoped the girl was worth dying for. These officers responded to the home along with Sergeant Jason Meyer as the incident commander. They found the suspect's vehicle parked in front of the home. These officers took up a tactical position to protect themselves and the neighbors. Sergeant Jason Meyer led his team and successfully took the suspect into custody. Officers found a loaded shotgun, ammunition, and latex gloves in the car. There is no doubt this man was coming to Novi with the intent to commit a murder. These officers' heroic actions in the face of danger took a potential killer off the streets, keeping families safe and our community safe. The suspect was charged with possession of a dangerous weapon, carrying with an unlawful intent, and is currently awaiting trial. Sergeant Jason Meyer's team was recently recognized by the Fraternal Order of Police for heroism in the face of danger. And tonight it is my honor to recognize each of them with the department citation. Congratulations. Sergeant Bob Minar. Sergeant Minar is unable to be with us tonight. He is currently at home with two children that have the flu, so he's a little busy tonight. Officer Josh Chapman. On March 15, 2018 at 9:21 p.m., Officer Josh Chapman was dispatched to assist deputies at the Oakland County Sheriff's Office with a vehicle pursuit near 12 Oaks Mall. The driver of the vehicle had fled on foot. In freezing temperatures, Officer Chapman chased the driver on foot through 8-foot-high cattails and vegetation in a retention pond near the 12 Oaks Mall. After searching for roughly 15 minutes, Officer Chapman heard the driver yelling for help. The driver was stuck in knee-deep, freezing mud. Officer Chapman broke his ankle while approaching the driver to take him into custody. Due to his injury, Officer Chapman was off of work for 7 weeks. The driver was later found guilty of flee and elude, possession of marijuana, and retail fraud in the second degree. He is currently serving a 30-month to 30-year sentence in state prison. Officer Josh Chapman is awarded the Police Heart for his injuries sustained while apprehending a suspect. Congratulations. Our next presenter is Captain John Martin.
Fire Protection Officer Michael Lando. Michael Lando began his career with the Novi Fire Department on August 4th, 2016. At that time, he was one of our auxiliary firefighters. Less than 2 years later, Michael was promoted to the position of Fire Protection Officer. During this short period of time, Fire Protection Officer Lando has surpassed all of our expectations. Michael recognized the need to help educate the public on the proper installation and fit of infant and child car seats. The Novi Fire Department prides itself on educating the public on the importance of these life-saving devices, and Michael accepted this task. While conducting his daily duties, Michael assists the public with correctly checking and installing child car seats to ensure that they will protect the intended user. Aside from protecting the public, Michael took on the responsibility to ensure that members of the Novi Fire Department are safe every time they use their self-contained breathing apparatus or air pack. This device is relied upon by firefighters to keep them safe in smoke-filled atmospheres. Michael services, repairs, tests, and maintains this critical piece of equipment. Efficiency is paramount in the maintenance of this equipment. Michael envisioned a way to streamline this process and sought out ideas from local vendors. These ideas led to the revamping of the office where the technicians work on these devices and have everything necessary in one location so all the technicians can be more efficient, also track the entire maintenance history of each air pack. This effort paid off, and yet simple yet critical improvements implemented decreased the amount of time it takes for an air pack to be repaired, tested, and placed back in service. For all of Michael's hard work and dedication to the safety of the public and his fellow firefighters, we award Fire Protection Officer Michael Lando with a letter of commendation. Firefighter Dennis Barrett. Firefighter Dennis Barrett is no stranger to stepping up when the need arises. With a background as a professional educator, Firefighter Barrett recognized the need to help the Novi Fire Department with instructing the public on proper car seat fit and installation. Statistics show that road injuries are the leading cause of preventable deaths and injuries to children in the United States. Correctly used child safety seats can reduce the risk of death by as much as 71%. The problem is that 3 out of 4 car seats are not used properly or installed incorrectly. In March of 2016, Firefighter Barrett started his journey by enrolling in a 40-hour car seat technician course. The simple action could have everlasting rewards for anyone that has met Dennis and he has assisted. A simple car seat question or a complex installation, Dennis always accepts a challenge to educate the public. Taking the time to ensure that not only is the car seat properly installed, but ensuring the public knows how to install and adjust the seat is Dennis's goal. Over the past 33 months, Dennis has installed over hundreds of car seats, and in 2018, he alone installed 76. Professional, dedicated, courteous, and knowledgeable are all characteristics that are used to describe Dennis. For his dedication and commitment to the safety of the public, Firefighter Dennis Barrett is awarded a letter of commendation. Detective Julie Warren. With the increased threat of violence in schools today, Detective and School Resource Officer Julie Warren is looking for ways to increase the safety for students in the Novi educational system. Detective Warren first heard about the using pieces of fire hose to secure doors during an ALICE training course, Alert, Lockdown, Inform, Counterattack Institute program. While at home one evening, Julie began her search for ways to fortify or secure classroom doors. One idea that continued to come up in her search was the use of short pieces of fire hose. This hose is used to cover the door hinge hardware, also preventing it from the door being opened. This technique repurposes lengths of a retired fire hose, which is beyond useful life, but could also help save lives in a different way. Julie approached Director of EMS and Fire Operations, Jeff Johnson, with her request to test this concept. Director Johnson agreed to give her some fire hose from the department that had already been retired and put it into action. Not only will this lead to safer schools, but it will utilize pieces of fire equipment that would normally be discarded. Novi High School, Novi Middle School, Deerfield Elementary, Novi Meadows 5th and 6th grade, Novi Woods Elementary and Early Childhood Education Center, as well as Orchard Hills Elementary, have already received pieces of this fire hose and have been instructed on its use. Detective Warren's goal is to have all Novi schools supplied and trained on this door locking system. For her persistence and dedication to ensuring a safer environment for our educational system, we award Detective Julie Warren with a letter of commendation. Firefighter Michael Moisen, Firefighter Jack Liao, Paramedic Terrence Mayfield, and EMT Thomas Brown. On the evening of January 31st, 2018, the Novi Fire Department was dispatched to the report of a patient having a medical emergency. Engine Force crew identified the address was just up the road from the station and were on scene within minutes. Upon Engine Force arrival at the scene, they discovered a female in her mid-50s sitting in a chair by herself inside of a bedroom. As the crew approached, they noticed that the patient was positioned oddly in the chair. In fact, the patient was actually leaning backwards in the chair. A quick assessment of the patient revealed a noticeable droop on the right side of her face, indicative of a stroke. Patient's boyfriend noticed that she had not been acting normal. He stated that she had started to complain of a sudden blurred vision while attempting to speak. He knew something was wrong and immediately called 911. Firefighter Michael Moisen noticed her facial droop when the patient attempted to speak, and her words were garbled and slurred. Firefighter Liao immediately placed the patient on oxygen and began to obtain her vital signs. Engine Force crew quickly determined that the patient appeared to be experiencing a stroke. In order to confirm their findings, the crew administered the Cincinnati Pre-Hospital Stroke Scale exam. This test is a systematic way to diagnose a potential stroke in the pre-hospital care setting. The test looks for 3 signs of abnormal findings, that which may indicate that the patient is having a stroke. This patient was exhibiting all 3 signs of an active stroke. At that time, Superior Air Ambulance arrived with paramedic Terrence Mayfield, emergency medical technician Thomas Brown. Firefighter Moisen relayed the findings to paramedic Mayfield. The boyfriend informed paramedic Mayfield that it was only a few minutes before he called 911 that the patient started to complain of the blurred vision and began to slur her words. The decision was made immediately to transport the patient to Ascension Providence Hospital, Novi campus, which is only 3 miles away from the location. The hospital was notified by radio of the patient's current disposition and the amount of time when the symptoms began. The patient was rapidly transported to Ascension Providence Park Hospital, Novi campus, where the neurologist on duty was awaiting her arrival. After only a few minutes in the hospital, it was determined the patient was experiencing an ischemic stroke due to the blocked artery to her brain. The only way to resolve this problem is intervention with clot-dissolving medication. The quicker that the symptoms are recognized and the medication is administered, the better the outcome of the patient. The on-duty neurologist complimented the crews for rapidly identifying that this was a stroke, contacting the hospital with their findings, and rapidly transporting the patient. These actions played an essential role in the positive outcome of the patient. You see, the patient was released from the hospital only days after experiencing the stroke and without any neurological deficit. For your quick response, rapid assessment, and outstanding service, we award Firefighter Michael Moisen, Firefighter Jack Liao with a letter of commendation, and paramedic Terrence Mayfield, emergency medical technician Thomas Brown with a civilian citation. It is my honor to present the next presenter, Director of Public Safety, Chief of Police David Malloy.
Officer Elisa Harwell, Officer Tim Shea, Officer Ryan Haney. The Novi Police Department has an average response time from the initial call to arrival of 4 minutes and 51 seconds on priority calls. That exceptional response time and a little teamwork paid dividends on March 2nd, 2018, when Officers Harwell and Haney responded to the Chase Bank to investigate a felony check fraud. Because of their quick response, Officer Shea stopped the suspect vehicle as it was leaving Chase Bank. Officers Harwell and Haney determined the suspect committed felony check fraud and he was arrested. Officer Shea located an assault rifle, a handgun, and over 4 pounds of marijuana in the suspect vehicle. Although he refused to talk to officers, it was later determined by investigators in Chase Bank that the suspect in fact committed a second felony check fraud while inside. Officers Harwell and Haney were able to link both check fraud cases to the suspect, and he eventually pled guilty to the 2 counts of uttering and publishing and the weapon offenses. Suspect is currently sentenced to incarceration and upon release will serve an additional 12 months of probation. These officers' actions took a criminal, 2 guns, and over 4 pounds of marijuana off our streets, and for that, we award them a unit citation. Assistant Chief Eric Zinzer. The FBI National Academy is an elite law enforcement academy for senior law enforcement executives from around the world, widely considered the pinnacle of law enforcement executive leadership training. The National Academy is by invitation only and is a 10-week session held at the FBI Academy in Quantico, Virginia. The core curriculum focuses on executive leadership, contemporary issues in law enforcement, media and community relations, and obviously physical fitness. Upon completing the 14 to 16 credit hours of graduate or undergraduate studies, attendees can earn graduate or undergraduate certificates from the University of Virginia. There's been over 50,000 graduates from the FBI National Academy since its inception in 1935. In December of 2018, Assistant Chief Eric Zinzer graduated from the 274th session of the FBI National Academy with 249 law enforcement executives from around the world, representing all 50 states, 23 international countries, 5 members of the United States military, and 7 executives from federal law enforcement agencies. Assistant Chief Zinzer is only the 8th commander from the Novi Police Department to graduate from the National Academy in our department's history. Please join me in congratulating Assistant Chief Eric Zinzer on earning the FBI National Academy Award. Sergeant Amanda Kulikowski, Captain Todd Sogg, Lieutenant Remo Oliverio, Fire Protection Officer Matt Markin, Firefighter Scott Disher. The Novi Police and Fire Departments take great pride in our team members committing to being lifelong learners. Nearly half of the command staff of our police and fire departments have earned an advanced degree, while several others are working towards their degrees. Sergeant Amanda Kulikowski earned a Bachelor of Science degree with a concentration in law enforcement from Eastern Michigan University in 2002. Like so many others of the police department, Sergeant Kulikowski has proven to be a lifelong learner. In 2018, she graduated from the Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey, California, with a master's degree in Homeland Security. She joined 31 other public safety leaders from across the United States, including public safety officials, the United States military, and several federal law enforcement partners. Captain Todd Sogg earned his bachelor's degree in 2015 from Columbia Southern University with a concentration in fire science. After earning his degree, he too continued his educational journey, earning a Master of Science degree with a concentration in public safety emergency management from Eastern Michigan University in 2018. Also in 2018, Lieutenant Remo Oliverio of the Novi Fire Department earned his bachelor's degree in applied sciences from Siena Heights University. Fire Protection Officer Matthew Markin earned a bachelor's degree in management, economics, and environmental studies from the University of Michigan in 2002. Always committed to a higher level education, Matt went back to school, and in 2018, he earned a master's degree of science in occupational safety and management from Columbia Southern University. In 2018, firefighter Scott Disher earned a Bachelor's of Science in Nursing from Oakland University. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in recognizing these individuals for their academic accomplishments. Officer Michael Daisley. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce Mr. Lee Momola. Lee is the 2018-2019 president of the Novi Rotary Club. Thank you for joining us, Lee. You can get a little closer, buddy. Chief Lee BeGole served as the Chief of Police from 1954 until his retirement in 1991. Referred to as the founding father and the most iconic Novi historian, Chief BeGole is a charter member of the Novi Rotary and an honored Novi resident. For the first time ever, we are proud to join with President Momola as we recognize our Police Officer of the Year as the Lee C. BeGole Police Officer of the Year in partnership with the Novi Rotary. Chief BeGole dedicated his life to service above self, one of the premier mottos of the Rotary Club. Born and raised in Detroit, Chief BeGole began his life of service as an Army veteran serving in World War II. And after the war, Chief BeGole served with the Wayne County Sheriff's Office and earned his law degree from the University of Detroit Law School in 1952. He served as the city's first Chief of Police and sole police officer, our first public safety director, and the first township supervisor. Chief BeGole established some of the highest standards still adhered to today in the Novi Police Department. Officer Michael Daisley joined the Novi Police Department in 2007. Sergeants often say having Officer Daisley on their shift feels like having an additional supervisor working. He can be relied upon to give his best effort every single day that he works. His investigations are thorough and always well documented, and he has a habit of always making his way to calls where difficult subjects are involved or tough decisions need to be made. Officer Daisley is one of the officers everyone likes to see at a critical incident. He brings a calm demeanor and a positive reinforcement. In 2018, Officer Daisley became a field training officer as part of our field training officer cadre in the Novi Police Department. While new to this position, there's no doubt he will excel as a leader and as a mentor to those he teaches and shares his job knowledge with the new recruits he mentors every day. Michigan State Police Lieutenant McGreevy recognized Officer Daisley for his performance during the FTO school, saying Officer Daisley was very friendly, participative, attentive, professional, and committed to learning. He was described as a credit to the profession and a great officer. Michael Daisley joined our K-9 team in 2012. His success shines through as a K-9 handler and is recognized as an expert in the region. He has been recognized in past with awards for successfully tracking suspects and missing vulnerable citizens. During the last year, Michael and his K-9 partner Aries located illegal narcotics on 15 occasions. Many times these narcotics may not have been found by investigating officers had Aries not pointed out where they were located. Aries even helped locate narcotics in a drop ceiling by alerting high on the wall underneath where the contraband was later found. Officer Daisley and Aries assisted other agencies 10 times by tracking suspects involved in felony criminal activity. Officer Daisley and Aries tracked down 8 suspects in Novi this past year and performed 9 vehicle searches. They have also worked to enhance community relations by participating in multiple K-9 demonstrations, and Michael Daisley maintains a rigorous training schedule with Aries to meet the high expectations of their certifications and fitness. Officer Daisley can be relied upon to work diligently every day while proactively ensuring community safety. He was recognized in July for making 3 found-on-patrol arrests during one tour of duty. In 2018, Michael responded to an address on Centennial Drive on a domestic violence complaint, and during that investigation, it was revealed that the assailant threatened this female victim with a knife. He then pulled the phone out of the wall as she was trying to call 911. Michael completed a thorough investigation, a detailed report, and an arrest was made, and the suspect was charged with 2 felony counts. More importantly, the victim was protected from further assaultive behavior from an obviously dangerous individual. Also in 2018, Officer Daisley stopped a motorcycle for speeding. The rider's license was suspended, so he was taken into custody. The motorcycle did not have a vehicle identification number on it, so Officer Daisley overcame this obstacle and located an engine number on the motorcycle. The normal checks through the lien network were not capable of listing vehicles by the engine number. Again, being persistent, Officer Daisley obtained assistance from the National Insurance Crime Bureau, who indicated it was a stolen motorcycle based on the engine number. His relentless follow-up allowed for the recovery of a stolen vehicle that would otherwise gone undetected. Late last year, Officer Daisley was responding to assist medics with a patient on I-96 near Novi Road. While driving on the other side of the freeway, Officer Daisley observed the patient swing a punch towards one of the medics. When he drove around to the scene, he observed the subject running south across I-96. Officer Daisley stopped the subject and handcuffed him. He was bleeding profusely and foaming at the mouth. A witness approached Officer Daisley and stated the subject he had just handcuffed had earlier stabbed the paramedic in the neck. Officer Daisley's quick response and decisive action ensured that the subject would not injure anyone else. Michael's a dedicated police officer, earning 21 different awards, including 6 life-saving awards, 1 for successfully tracking a 60-year-old female who walked away from her home on a cold October night in only her nightgown. Officer Daisley's other recognition include 8 unit citations, 1 from the Farmington Hills Police, 3 merit citations, and 2 letters of commendation. He's been named twice as our Employee of the Month as nominated by his fellow officers. He recognizes his duties as a canine handler can come at any time, never saying no to schedule changes or putting himself above others. It's not one incident defining Officer Daisley's leadership. It is his mentorship, his guidance, his professionalism, and unwavering aspiration to set the example throughout the year that defines his leadership. He takes pride in his work as a police officer and a canine handler. His ability to work with the public and coworkers is beyond reproach. He's an informal leader, respected by his peers, supervisors, and commanders alike. Ladies and gentlemen, please join the Novi Police Department and the Novi Rotary as we recognize Officer Michael Daisley as the Lee C. BeGole Police Officer of the Year.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank my family, my mom and dad, grandma, brother, sister-in-law, my fiance, newly fiance, Ashley, and her parents, Steve and Ethel. It's an honor to work for Novi Police Department with everybody working as a team. I'm honored to be selected as Officer of the Year and humbled to be up here with all the other great people that work here day in and day out. Thank you.
Mr. Richard Antuna. Richard Antuna has been a Novi resident since 1979. He and his wife Marjorie raised their 3 children, Lisa, Jessica, and Danielle, in the same house he and Marjorie still live in today. Richard noted he could not be prouder of his 3 successful children and his 4 grandchildren. He's been serving the city of Novi since he relocated here in 1979. He served in the Novi Fire Department as a paid-on-call fire lieutenant from 1979 to 2001. Richard's an electrician by trade and has worked for the Michigan Department of Transportation for 13 years before retiring just earlier this week. He's been a staple in the Community Emergency Response Team, or CERT, since 2011, and in 2016 he stepped forward to join the Volunteers and Public Safety Team, or VIPS, while continuing to serve as a CERT member. His dedication to volunteer service and his passion to utilize his own time, resources, and energy shined through when he volunteered to completely revamp and update our CERT trailer, making it more functional and operational for emergency incidents. He worked with his partner, Evan Lacey, to add lights, outlets, and a generator to the trailer. He worked with a local awning company to install a motorized awning on the trailer, which helps shield and protect our volunteers during the hot sun and inclement weather. These improvements were not for him, but rather for the entire team to protect them from the elements and provide an operational base when they're activated. In addition, Richard was an instrumental part of our CERT Radio Enhancement Committee by providing his expertise on identifying the right types of rooftop antennas, which could be utilized for making our portable radios more effective. Further demonstrating his volunteer spirit, Richard Antuna has devoted over 192 hours to his VIPS patrols throughout the year. Of these 192, he dedicated 97 in 2018. He's never said no to any request for assistance, and he's highly respected amongst his peers and is well respected by the members of the Novi Police and Fire Departments. He volunteered 100 hours during 2018, participating in community events, attending CERT quarterly meetings, working on his days off, oftentimes on the weekend, and using his own resources to complete the job at hand. In 2018, Richard Antuna has given the residents of our community 292 hours of his own time to ensure the safety and security. His dedication to the service does not stop in Novi. He served on the Federal Emergency Management Agency's disaster management team. As an EMT medic, Richard has been deployed to New York, California, Hawaii, and Georgia during the 1996 Summer Olympics. Richard was a first responder who worked on the disaster following the terrorist attacks of the World Trade Center on 9/11. Ladies and gentlemen, Novi is very fortunate to have a resident like Richard Antuna, who's dedicated his life to volunteer service in our community. Would you please join me in recognizing him as our 2018 Volunteer of the Year?
Thank you very much. I'll keep this nice and brief. Dedication to my wife standing there. Thank you very much for allowing me to do this. My lovely family, everyone here, I'm indebted, and I'll never be able to pay it back, to what Novi has done for me and my family. I want to thank the officers, the firefighters, everyone. I'm indebted to you. My family's indebted to you. Thank you very much for this great honor. Thank you.
Captain Mark Tyson. Captain Tyson started his career path with the Novi Fire Department in October 2006. He came to us by way of prior experience as a paid-on-call firefighter with the Lyon Township Fire Department. A perfect fit, Captain Tyson became instrumental in recommending fire apparatus and equipment to help enhance the fire department's response, operations, and capabilities. This continuous personal drive to always help us has risen Captain Tyson to the level of the officer he is today. He's received numerous letters thanking him for his kind words, his compassion, and his outstanding efforts assisting the public. Always eager to share his knowledge, Captain Tyson strives to improve not only himself, but the community he protects. During his service, he's seen 2 promotions to leadership positions. The first was to lieutenant in December of 2012, and the second to captain in July of 2013. This is evidence of his drive and determination for personal growth and development. Mark's been instrumental in implementing an effective preventive maintenance and repair program for all fire department apparatus. This program has not only reduced both the time that our units are out of service, but also the number of occurrences which they are out of service. Spearheading a process to help improve response time, Captain Tyson worked diligently with our Integrated Solutions Department. Through countless hours of research and testing, each fire engine and rescue vehicle are now equipped with a computer tablet. Each tablet is loaded with mapping and guidance software using a wireless network. These tablets also have software for hazardous material and chemical identification that provides information for actions to take for containment and neutralization of the hazard by our fire personnel. Information specific to businesses throughout the city is also located in these tablets, and this aids in determining hazards specific to the business, as well as contact information. In 2018, Captain Tyson was instrumental in overseeing the Insurance Services Office, or ISO, insurance rating project for the Novi Fire Department. ISO is perhaps best known as the company that provides ratings for local fire departments, used by insurance companies to determine premiums for homeowners and business policies alike. This is also a way to show that the Novi Fire Department is dedicated to best practices, has an outstanding staffing model, and is always enhancing the services they provide. The system ISO uses to determine the rating of a fire department is called the Fire Suppression Rating Schedule, a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the best score. This ISO rating schedule examines many factors related to local fire departments, our water supply, the focus on training, equipment, our dispatch capabilities, as well as our station staffing and response, just to name a few. ISO assigns a rating from 1 to 10 to over 46,000 fire protection areas throughout the United States. Basically, the lower the ISO rating, that helps to significantly lower insurance premiums for our residents and businesses. The original ISO rating that the Novi Fire Department starting with was a 5. Due to the hard work and perseverance, we have achieved the new rating of a 2. To help put this in perspective, there are only 1,331 agencies in the entire United States that have achieved a Class 2 rating. We are in the top 2% nationwide. Mark has also been involved in the expansion of public relation activities related to the Novi Fire Department services, especially in the senior, fall, and home inspection program. Working directly with our older adult services to capture video feeds on things that help people and prevent them from tripping or falling, Mark has helped protect themselves and our residents inside their homes. He consistently utilizes social media to help promote the positive day-to-day activities and functions that the men and women of the Novi Fire Department perform. This positive image is what Captain Tyson portrays each and every day. His attitude and demeanor are qualities that make it easy for him to be a prominent leader. A well-rounded and productive individual, Captain Tyson exhibits leadership skills with very minimal effort. Captain Tyson has a bachelor's degree from Columbia Southern Universities and a master's degree from Eastern Michigan University in Homeland Security. He's also a guest lecturer at the EMU School of Fire Staff and Command Executive Leadership Program. When asked to describe Captain Tyson, the common answers are prideful, honest, dedicated, hardworking, courteous, professional, and positive, always looking to ensure success at all levels. For all of his accomplishments, it's my honor and privilege to recognize Captain Mark Tyson as the 2018 Novi Fire Department Firefighter of the Year and thank him for his continued dedication to the safety of our residents. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It's very humbling, and it's a great honor to be up here. I want to thank the directors and the chiefs and all my colleagues in both the police and fire department. It's a great place to work, and I really appreciate it, everything. Thank you.
Mr. Steve Tolman. Stephen Tolman grew up in Bath, Michigan, and graduated from Bath High School in 1990. He's been a certified mechanic since that time. He's been married to his wife, Dina, for 20 years, and they have 2 children, Emily and Mark, who are with us this evening. Stephen has been a Novi resident for the past 23 years. He was a self-employed mechanic in Novi and worked for Cadillac of Novi prior to joining our team in May of 2017. He's been an exceptional employee who exceeds both public safety and the fleet asset manager's expectations in not just one category, but all of them. Steve is a certified master auto mechanic, and his customer service skills, quality of work, quantity of work, initiative, and dependability are second to none. He has demonstrated a proficiency in repairing all fleet vehicles, as well as building new patrol cars and even our Polaris all-terrain vehicles we utilize in the police and fire service. Steve has truly changed not only the scope of work, but the responsiveness of our mechanic position. He has over 30 years of automotive experience, and because he exceeded the job requirements of a lead mechanic with his knowledge, skills, and abilities, he was promoted to lead mechanic in July of 2018. He has demonstrated the ability to consistently and effectively provide a high level of service consistent with the Novi Guest Service Guarantee policy. His proficiency, his hard work, and quick turnaround have been noted by several of our team members throughout the year and since he was hired. It's readily apparent Steve has a comprehensive understanding of automobile maintenance and repair, as well as the ability to troubleshoot and fix our vehicles' intricate electrical systems. The city's financial saving also supports that Steve's vast experience is put to daily use. The Novi Police Department has been able to reallocate over $41,000 out of our maintenance budget for fire and police accounts due to Steve's performance of various repairs and replacements done in-house. Steve is an automotive service excellent certified and is working towards his master certification. It is my high honor to recognize Mr. Steve Tolman as the 2018 Civilian Employee of the Year.
I'm not much of a speech giver, but it is certainly nice to be appreciated. Appreciate that. And great honor to work with all these great guys and gals. Thank you.
As you all know, and I've said it time and again, these ceremonies don't happen by accident. I'd like to thank all the members who submitted their respective award nominations and for the work performed by our awards board team for reviewing and authorizing this recognition this evening. I'd also like to recognize and thank our administrative assistant, Renee Landis, for hard work and countless hours spent in preparing the awards for this evening. Thank you, Renee. I'd also like to thank my colleagues, Assistant Chief Zinzer, Assistant Chief Batens, Director Johnson, Captain Tyson, and Captain Martin for sharing in the responsibilities and the recognition of all of our men and women. In addition, I'd like to thank our community relations team, Director Cheryl Walsh-Malloy, Nathan Mueller, Josh Busher, Damon Parnell, Calvin Brown, Abby Leffler, and Wendy Duvall. Their assistance in coordinating this event, setting it up, the photography, the video, the live streaming, all as an absolutely invaluable service that shines Novi in the most positive light. I'd also like to thank our Parks and Recreation team, including Jessica Mistack and her staff, for the professional setup of this facility. Thank you all. I'd like to once again congratulate all the citizens and department members recognized here this evening. In addition, I'd also like to thank those who attended this evening who may not have received an award, yet took the time to honor your colleagues with your presence and words of positive reinforcement. I offer a heartfelt thank you to the family members of our firefighters, our dispatchers, our support personnel, and police officers who stand by our team members and their loved ones day and night, not knowing if Dad's going to return home safely or if Mom will make it through her tour of duty. Your support does not go unnoticed, so please join me in thanking them. You all have my highest praise and appreciation, for without you, this would not be possible. To all of our first responders and supporters here this evening, I say thank you for everything you do. At this time, I'd like to introduce Chaplain Michael Zerkich to perform our benediction. Michael?
Let us bow our heads, please. Lord, you brought together men and women who've chosen a career path that's been outstanding in what they've given back to the city. Lord, not only the policemen and their chain of command, also the fire department, as well as the dispatchers, all of them join together as a team, Lord, and you've given them some great characteristics. Tonight we've heard about their competencies and their courage that have allowed them to do some extraordinary things within our city. Lord, you've given me a position where I go with them sometimes and get to see them between these events and during these events, some of which are very horrific. And yet, Lord, you've given these people not only the patience and the kindness, but also the compassion to these people that are out there that they serve in ways that is astounding to me, Lord. I come before you tonight and ask that you continue to be with them and also their families and their peers. All the people that are here tonight, we're very, very blessed to have these officers and firemen and dispatchers and all the chain of command, because they do love you. And the way they show it is by loving so many other people on the line of such a difficult job. So Lord, see us home safely tonight, and thank you for this wonderful opportunity to give praise to such extraordinary people. We say this through your Son. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our 2019 awards ceremony. May God bless you. Thank you.